And US President Donald Trump acknowledges that the Russia-Ukraine conflict had proven to be harder to resolve than he anticipated. But we're also learning that more secondary sanctions on countries buying Russian oil can damage Moscow's economy. This is what the White House has said. Meanwhile, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that the Russian economy will collapse if Washington and the European Union impose more secondary sanctions on countries that buy crude oil from Moscow. So Bessent, in an interview, said that President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance had a very productive call with President of the European Commission and who followed up with a call with him on Friday, and they discussed what the US and the European Union could do to put more pressure on Russia. Let's listen in.
Are you ready to move to the second phase of sanctions against Russia or punishing Putin?
How was your call with the Prime Minister of Australia?
We have some very interesting discussions. You know, Europe, certain European leaders are coming over to our country on Monday or Tuesday, and individually. And I think we're going to get that settled. I think we're going to get it settled. We have to. You can't lose. You know, when they're losing 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers a week for no reason, you have to get it settled.
And Pranay Upadhyay continues to stay with us. Pranay, this secondary sanction threat coming to the fore from the United States side and saying that more secondary sanctions on countries buying Russian oil can damage Moscow's economy. This is the claim that has been made by the White House. How do you see this?
Definitely, this puts additional pressure on countries like India as well, because we are purchasing Russian oil, and we have seen that how the Trump administration is putting pressure on India and accusing India for fueling this war. However, this is not the fact that we are fueling this war, but we are certainly buying Russian oil. And the way U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said that if United States and European countries put pressure on these countries, those who are buying the Russian oil, this is going to be a contest between the Russian economy and the Ukrainian forces. That how long Ukrainian forces can withhold their territory, or the Russian economy, which could sustain the pressure or sustain this war. So definitely, U.S. or Trump administration is looking at more secondary sanctions, and for that, as we have heard, U.S. President Donald Trump has said that he has invited the European leaders, and he will be meeting them individually. Recently, there was a phone call mentioned by the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent by the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance as well to Ursula von der Leyen, who's the European Commission chief, and after that, European Commission chief also held a phone call with Prime Minister Modi as well. And though the discussion was around FTA, India-EU FTA negotiations, which is progressing well, but we have to see that how the secondary sanctions are being worked out, and how the negotiations can progress, because the pressure is mounting globally. Because if this comes to an act, then definitely there will be larger concern about the global crude oil prices, and we have to see that if the global crude oil prices goes high, then this put additional pressure on many economies, including India.
Absolutely, Pranay. Thank you so much for those details and for that context.